Well, hello my friends, now Potato and Fatima, and we are back to fix the damn mess I made with the epoxy.
I dream of sailing. You know I always dream of sailing. Take me far away. Sailing. You know I always dream of sailing. Freedom on the seas, fire. Dancing on the waves toward places we don't know. Loving life Mercado style and steady as we go. I dream of sailing.
Now, I think I have a beginner's luck syndrome that happens with me quite a bit. As some of you know, I've done that table out there in an epoxy resin pour, which worked out really well. All right, I'm going to back up a little bit. Let me back up on this. Now, I've been busy, Fatima and I, redoing my salon tabletop, and boy, I was so proud. Look at these pictures. I mean, thing was working out beautiful. Now I wish I had filmed this from the beginning because it was quite a project, but I never think of grabbing the camera. I do halfway through, but it's like, oh, okay, I'm already halfway through. I don't want to explain what I've done up to now. But now it's kind of at the end, and I'm going to explain what I've been doing. Well, I went out to a local lumber yard, and I picked up some of these 1x2, a 1/4 inch by 2 inch slats in clear pine. Clear. Well, that's as clear as you can get over here. They still have a few knots, but these knots, I actually like the character. I don't like something that's all clean and uniform. But anyway, I cut this table was with a rounded corners. And even though I already had an epoxy top on it, which had worked out pretty well, but the veneer that was on this rounded part was so paper thin that just cleaning it up a little bit was showing the grain of the plywood that the table was fabricated from. So it's like, okay, if I redo this, I want to cut these angles. So for this project, I recut the angles, and that worked out pretty well. Did the border. The miter cuts are not too bad either. Did the surrounding border, and then started putting these, laying out what I was going to do with the tabletop, how it was going to work with what I already had. And I decided, okay, I'm going to leave this 1/4 inch gap between each slat and all the way around, and that worked out beautiful. So comes the time to do the epoxy, which was yesterday, and I was all excited about it. And I poured the center first, and I noticed I had a little bit of a problem where the edge of the boat on the wood, especially over here, created a lot of fine air bubbles coming up that I could not eliminate. It's like, okay, that's not too good. Then I came back with a secondary pour, filling it up higher and coming up over the whole tabletop, spreading it, and then working the heat gun and tapping it and getting the air bubbles. Now, with that, I had a few air bubbles that kept coming up and gave me these bubbles that you see here. That is not good, but it's not the end of the world. I could pop them, sand them, I could fill them, and that would be it. But that's not the extent of the problem. Over here, you can see that I got a haze, which are the same air bubbles that were kept coming up, like bubbling and creating a haze over these boards. And I kept working this area with the air gun, the heat gun, going back and forth, and constantly bubbles popping up. So it's got actually low spots in between where things popped and it wasn't able to level itself. That's not good. Still manageable. Not ideal, but manageable. Sand it. Give one last coat of a fine epoxy over the whole table, and that would have taken care of that. But as I'm heating it up over here and trying to work these air bubbles out, even though I kept seeing that it kept popping, but I worked my way over to this side of the table. And as I'm heating it, I'm seeing bubbles, and I'm popping out the bubbles and going this way, and by the time I get here, the whole back is loaded with bubbles again. I'd hit it again, and no matter what, bubbles just kept building up. This was the last section that I did, building up, and it's like, okay, this is not working. It's not eliminating the bubbles. They're starting to get trapped inside the resin. Well, I let that go, and I had craters. I mean, like, not craters, but volcanoes over here all over the place, where the bubble got trapped up underneath and it just pushed up the epoxy up to the top. When I say up to the top, I had like 1/4 inch raises all through here, and plus those tiny bubbles, but more exaggerated on this area. And that's what you got here and this area over here. So these are all very fine bubbles. So this morning, in desperation, like, I don't know what to do. I'm at a point that I don't know what to do. I went with a painter's knife and I actually cut back all these raised up areas that were here. Literally cut it up and started sanding it. Started sanding this with 220, and it just wasn't going anywhere. It was just gunking up the sandpaper. So I went with 80 grit, and I already passed this area a little bit to see where I stand. The way I was thinking is that if I made it all foggy throughout, or up to this edge over here, and clear from here and over, that would still work for me. But the problem is I got all these clears and hazy sections in between, so I don't know how far down I'm going to be able to go to clear this up. My thinking, what's going to end up happening is I'm going to have to go all the way down to the wood and leaving the epoxy just on these things, take care of any bubbles that are in between these first on these grooves, fill those up, and then one skinny layer over the whole top to see if I can get it to cover up the wood again. Now, looking on YouTube and seeing what mistakes people make with epoxy, the only one I saw that makes sense, and that's what I was thinking it was, but I wasn't sure, is that the wood should have been sealed first. Even if it was just resin before the full pour, give it a coat of just a paint over on all the wood, let it sit, and then pour the epoxy, because the wood being porous, it just kept interacting with the resin and releasing air all the time from it, whether if it's the resin trying to pour itself in, or whether if it was the actual wood releasing air pockets out of it. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was, and that's what one person on YouTube who does rivet tables said, that he had a problem with the edge of a particular table that he was doing, creating these kind of fine air bubbles was due to the wood not being treated. So we're got a mess. I mean, that's not the extent of it, but these I can deal with. I could deal with filling this. I could deal with leveling this off and getting rid of this ripple. But all of this is related to the fact that I did the pour and I could not eliminate the air. And when I got here with the heat gun to most likely eliminate this bubble, it was already gelling up, so it created like a wave effect. But like I said, I wish that was the extent of the problems. The big problem became when I got to this side and I had all this in white bubbled up. So yes, not everything I do works in my favor. In this case, I got a hell of a lot of work ahead of me to fix this, and I will let you know, probably record what I do from this point on. Now, looking at the tabletop on what I have done and what I was attempting to do, it's not going to work. There's no way for me to get this epoxy out and go all the way down to the bottom where the holes are. As you can see, these holes have already been cleaning it up, but it goes all the way down to the base of the table, and they are all over the place. This has been sanded. My hopes was that I could, these were a little bit closer to surface, I could sand it deep enough to eliminate this and do one more pour of epoxy, but that's not going to work. So we just went to the local lumberyard hardware store and picked up a 1/4 inch Luan after thinking about what we were going to do. I could make a brand new tabletop, but this is already a tabletop. So we're going to cut this, apply it to this table in full, but not before I cut this design. Instead of the triangle here with the boat, I'm going to make an oval for this area and then work on the boat. And this area I'll paint it solid, so it will be this as a background without seeing the sea and any of this. That will be buried when all said and done, and I'll just build up new on the top of. Stick around and watch the process as much as I'm willing to film, because I can't be filming and working at the same time. So I'll do my best. That's gonna take off the line. I don't want to take off the line. Well, a couple of hours of work, and of course it was too awkward on the boat, small area, for us to record little cuts. But what I've done up to now is I've recut a border and slapped it right on the top of the other one that was here. So it's double-edged and it's flush with the bottom. Now the Luan fits right inside here, just like so. So this Luan will be glued in, but not before I paint the bottom of the table over here solid and cut this oval out so I can put my logo in the center over here again. Okay, gonna attempt this. I put the smallest, the thinnest blade that I have, and the smallest teeth, not to get much blowout. Take the bottom of this to minimize the scarfing up. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the oval out and then work with a smaller piece over here as far as the detail of the boat. Far away, Fatima. I'm gonna cut this and keep rotating the wood. Okay. Go check it out on the table. So, and the boat will be laid out in here. This will be painted up solid. Okay, I'll fill up these voids that are still here, paint an ocean scene on it. And then everything is built up on the top of this. So all of this will never be seen again. I did like that boat.
I knew that was coming.
You know, sometimes it's not knowing how to do everything. It's knowing how to solve the problem. And in this case, we're definitely solving the problem here. So to make this little corner over here, because the blade is still a little tight and I don't want to gouge up into this, I'm going to make a little hole here, so I can get the blade in. Wherever I feel like I can overcut here and make the turn, so that's not a problem. It's the tight corners that I might have a problem. I'll drill it and then follow up through there. And let's see. As far as the windows, I mean, literally I could cut out the windows so it gives me a better effect. I could drill out these and look through, and that might be what I do with these rather than color them up in pencil to dark. Cannot use Sharpie if I'm gonna epoxy over the top, because the epoxy will smear the Sharpie line. So we'll see on that. I'd love to get the trampolines cut out, but that's that hull that you see over there, so I can't cut that through and still get the effect. So the trampolines will be just colored in as you see, or shaded, and you're not going to be able to see through, because anything you would see through, you would see as the back hull anyway. So I'll just, and let's see.
See? Straight line.
Yep. Okay, so now we
Well, good morning again. We're back at the table. As some of you know that follow me on Facebook, you know that I've been doing a lot of changes to this boat. So I'm going to take you on for this ride of hardener to one part of epoxy, pour into a slightly larger container, even though I could use a larger container than this, but this is what I got at hand. So they recommended that you stir it for a minimum of 2 minutes. Could use a drill and a stirrer. Did you? So we're pouring an overflow coat, and we got an edging of tape coming up higher than the tabletop, so it creates a little bit of an edge. I'm not going to worry about the this little faceboard until later. I want to see at what point I can start peeling off this tape. I know that technically they do it while it's still tacky, where it's still able to run over, but I don't want to make the mess that it makes. I mean, literally it keeps on
Yeah,
dripping.
they do that in a workshop now.
Yeah, it keeps on dripping forever. So I will let it stay till it's just a bit tacky maybe, and see what I can do. Maybe hand rub some on the outside. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this face.
All right. Do you see any
Dimples.
But now it looks pretty good. Right in the middle over there, I think that's an empty spot. You see it?
No.
Right in the middle, right there.
Right here?
Nope.
'Cause I see
On the
it.
edge, Fatima.
Over here?
Yep, right on the edge.
This is dripping over here.
Okay.
Oh, quite a bit, babe. Quite a bit.
All right.
Give me a paper towel.
Okay, put the towel down, Fatima. Let's take care of that. So, right now, the whole top is a little bit tacky. It's thick enough that it's not running, but so pulling off the tape is rounding off this very outside edge, which I wanted to be rounded off. If I let it dry any harder, I would have to sand this. But the way it's going right now, you can see that the resin is just pulling from the top over the edge, and it's thick enough that I can actually touch it and push it into the wood. So this side is going to have a little bit more rundown, as you can see. I got a ½ inch of this. Let me pass you up. Go from the back. So you can see that it runs right down just enough. It pulls, and it's giving me a nice lip on the top of this. I'll probably end up sanding this front because it has a thickness between the difference between the wood and what's coming off from the top. But this is peeling down and sticking at the same time. And okay, my hands are getting sticky. we go. That's perfect. If your hands are sticky, you can't rub it back. But if you put a little soap on your fingers, you'll be able to push that right in without a problem. So I'm using my other hand that's not sticky and finalizing this rundown. Give it a nice finish. Good.
Okay guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and don't forget to subscribe.